Today, let's look at how Yale University was funded by money earned in Madras city. Elihu Yale was born in America in 1649. When he was just 3 or 4, his father, who was a fairly prosperous attorney, migrated to England, and that is where he grew up. In 1671, Elihu obtained the position of a clerk in the East India Company and was sent off to Madras. He came here and took up his duties. Once here, he became very clever at finding out how people made money. The East India Company did not pay much to its servants. Elihu's annual salary was £5. But all company servants did private trade. They worked for the East India Company. They also did business on the side. This was technically illegal, but that is how most people made money while in India. Elihu was no different. In fact, he was even better than most of them in making money. And soon he was doing business in a variety of things that began with bricks and betel nuts all the way up to gold and silver and precious stones. But at the same time, he worked very hard in the company interests, and he was given promotions repeatedly. Very quickly, he rose up the ladder, and soon by the 1680s, he was a member of the Governor's Executive Council and was going to be very soon the second in command of the fort. At that time, Joseph Hynmers was the second in command, and he was exceedingly ill. When he died in 1680, Elihu immediately married his widow, Catherine. The wedding was the first that took place in the Church of St. Mary's in Fort St. George. Incidentally, this church is the oldest Anglican church built east of the Suez Canal. When it was going to be built, the British in Madras contributed money to it, and Elihu was one of the many that gave money. Finally, his was the first wedding that was conducted here. Elihu and Catherine had 3 children, of which a son died very early. He was buried where the Law College today stands. At that time, this was the burial ground for the British in Madras. He was buried in the same place as Catherine's first husband, Joseph Hynmers. And on top of the 2 burials, a huge obelisk was erected, which still stands just outside the Law College. When you go there and see it, you will be stunned by the size. In 1687, Elihu became the governor of Madras. And thereafter, there was no limit to his earnings on the side. And he did it very cleverly. He never showed his true hand in it. He operated through 2 women. Catherine Nix was the wife of John Nix, his closest friend, and she was his first agent. The second agent was Hieronima de Paiva, the widow of de Paiva, who was perhaps the richest Armenian merchant of Madras dealing in precious stones. These 2 women helped Elihu become a multimillionaire very soon. All this was not to the liking of the council members in Fort St. George, and one of them, William Fraser in particular, kept writing letters to the East India Company in London complaining about Elihu and his corruption. Finally, a commission of enquiry came down in 1691 and dismissed him from the post of governor and began conducting a series of investigations into his wealth. All his property was confiscated and he was allowed to go back to England. But Elihu Yale was no ordinary adversary. He chose to stay back and began to appeal to the government in England, and finally in 1696 he was completely exonerated of all charges. He went back an exceedingly wealthy man to London and settled down to lead an exceedingly prosperous life. We remember him in Madras city for 3 things. The first is the Flagstaff at Fort St. George, 148 feet high and the tallest in the country. First erected during Elihu's time as governor, made out of 1 piece of teak wood. It lasted till around 20 years ago, after which it began to show signs of weakness and was replaced by a stainless steel mast. Secondly, The Corporation of Madras began during Elihu Yale's time in 1688, and it till now holds the record for being the oldest corporation in the entire country. Thirdly, it was Yale who instituted the practice of naming all the streets in the city, including the streets inside Fort St. George, which even now bear the names that he gave them. Yale went back to England, as I said, and led a very, very prosperous life. At this time, in the 1690s, in America, the Rev Cotton Mather was beginning a college, and he appealed to Elihu Yale, saying that as a person born in the American colonies, he should contribute money to the institution. Yale did not give money, but he sent books, some portraits, and some rugs and textiles that he had taken back with him from Madras city. These were all auctioned, and the college obtained £500. They named the college Yale College, and that gradually became Yale University. Elihu Yale lived on till 1721 and finally died in England, where he remains buried. And the institution that he gave his name to flourishes in the United States of America. It is quite startling to know that the money that he earned illegally in Madras city finally went to fund a university in the United States of America. If you like stories like this, subscribe, like and share my channel. I'll be back with you with more. Bye for now.